Creativity changes the everyday. Creativity is beautiful. Creativity is active. Creativity is freedom. Alpha NEX5 debut.
So.
Well, Jonathan Wilson, you run Encompass Africa, which is a very specialist African tour operation, I suppose, based in Brisbane in Australia. And how long have you been doing this, Jonathan?
John, I've been in the industry now for over 10 years. Started off as a guide in Africa. Obviously, I'm from South Africa. And then, yes, guided all over Southern and East Africa. And then moved to London and spent 6 years in London working for a luxury safari specialist based in London, servicing clients in Europe, the UK and North America. And then, yes, I fell in love with a young Australian lady, and she brought me out of the bushes kicking and screaming and to Australia. And yes, we've been based in Australia now for just over 3.5 years. And we've brought that whole concept of the way we do our itineraries and our safaris from Europe and North America here to Australia.
Fantastic. Well, look, I think one of the challenges, when I speak to people about African experiences is that you can go on a tour, you're on a coach, you stay in fairly large hotels, and you might see a lion from about 500 meters away and so on. But from reading your website, this isn't the Encompass Africa role, is it? It's very different. You're in the luxury, experiential space. Tell me what makes you different and why people should travel with Encompass Africa. And then, obviously, we'll then get into why you're exhibiting at Luxperience later this year. So tell me what's different about you and why people should go with you and not with anybody else.
Basically, from the start, it's a very personal approach. And we take a very different approach to how a safari should be. As you've just explained, how a safari, as you know it is what we do completely different. All our camps and lodges are hand-picked. They all owner-run, small and intimate. No more than, 5 to 8 tents.
Wow.
This just gives you that really personal approach from start to finish, be it with myself or our team here in Australia, or with the owners of the lodges in the camps in Africa. It's also to all private reserves and lodges throughout Africa. This gets you off the usual beaten tourist tract where you do see 6 or 7 vehicles around one poor pride of lion. Here, it's vast tracts of land all to yourself with one of the lowest guest to land ratios in Africa. And that makes these trips really special. Seeing your first elephant or lion that you've always dreamt about for the first time, all on your own, with your family, with your loved one, is what Africa is all about, and how I know a safari should be. And then going back to a camp where everyone knows your name, you're a personal friend, and to get that personal touches is what really makes it special.
Yeah,
another
that sounds
thing,
awesome.
Sleeping under canvas is another, going to Africa, it's an extraordinary experience. That first night, you and your children or your husband, you'll be sleeping with one eye open, as you don't know the noises outside. Is it a lion? Is it a warthog? Is it just a zebra? And that's the extraordinary experience that we try and offer our guests that do travel with us. Staying in a lodge is nice, and it's in certain parts of Africa, that's the nature of the beast. But sometimes, you close out Africa. Night, you want to hear the noises. You want to smell the elephant rubbing up against the tree. And the same thing going on a safari with 20 other people in a big coach. The tour leader in the front saying, "Well, there's an elephant." Well, I want to know what it smells like. I want to hear its stomach rumbling. I want to be, within meters of it and see its long eyelashes and get that really good experience.
Fantastic. I mean, you know, I think what you're saying to me is that I sit at home and watch the Discovery Channel, okay? And there they are in amazing locations, just the camera maybe sort of tracking or following a pride of lions or following a herd of elephants or whatever, and there's just them, and I'm sitting in my lounge. You're taking me and the Discovery Channel right into Africa. That's the impression I get.
Yes, basically we try and reproduce National Geographic live.
Yep.
For our clients. It's not that easy because National Geographic sits in these locations for months on end. However, the way we design these itineraries is to give a great pace to each trip. Not doing one night here, one night here, one night there, because it just never works. To spend 4 nights in one camp, you get to know their surroundings, the guides get to know you, they know your preferences, and then you get to really, the longer you are on a safari in one location, the luckier you get. It's so hard to picture what it's really like until you actually get on the ground and you do it for the first time.
Yeah.
And when you do, everyone has these pictures that it is just like National Geographic, and it's so important. It does it, and that's how that inspires us every day to make it like that, and that's how I've grown up, and I know how safari should be, and how we want to give that experience to our clients.
Okay, well, that sounds amazing, Jonathan. I've got to tell you, and sadly, Africa's somewhere I've never been. I've intended to go a few times to various events like meetings and what's it called, Indaba and so on, but I've always sent other people instead. Well, tell me, now you're a partner with Luxperience and their show taking place in later this year, in early September in Sydney. So tell me, how does Luxperience fit into what you want to do and what you're trying to achieve?
Well, basically, Luxperience is something new in Australasia, so we always love something new, something exciting, and it's an opportunity for us to showcase what we do so differently from the usual safari type of experience. It's a great way of getting in connecting with the right people that have the type of clientele or guests that want to do something different, but not necessarily, they don't have the knowledge or the skill of how to arrange these type of trips in Africa. So it's a wonderful opportunity to be a good ambassador for Africa, to share our passion of Africa and our insiders' knowledge of Africa with more people in the Australasia region, and share that excitement for Africa with them, and bring it to more and more people in this part of the world.
Brilliant. No, it sounds amazing. So what sort of people do you want to meet when you're exhibiting at Luxperience, so that you can communicate your product to them and therefore they can buy it themselves, or, in this case, probably sell it to other people? So what sort of people are you aiming to meet? Basically,
at the moment, we'd love to meet all the specialist and smaller travel agencies in Australia, and buyers from Asia and New Zealand and these regions. So many of them are very knowledgeable and very, been in the industry for a long time. So they have that very good client base that know them, that have this wonderful long relationships. It's all about partnerships for us. We like working with people. We're a people's business. And we're looking, an African safari is an expensive trip of a lifetime. It's not your average safari, so yes, it does cost a lot of money, and so we are, it is a high-end experience, and we're looking to speak with those people and those type of clientele that do have the means to enjoy these types of safaris as they should be.
Brilliant. Well, look, I think you've really put over the magic to me of an African safari, and not just any old African safari, an Encompass Africa safari. And I know you visit very many countries throughout Africa, not just, say, South Africa and the main tourist sites, which clearly is not your forte. Your forte is getting off the beaten track, getting new experiences, and you're right in that pointy end of the best of high-end experiential products available, and luxury, I presume, in terms of the accommodation, and from what you've said as well, is important, although not always possible, but as much luxury as you can provide. And also, I forgot to ask you about food. What about food?
Well, John, the food is absolutely amazing. Most of our guests return about 3 to 4 kilograms heavier from the experience.
Is that excess baggage, is it?
Yes. It's phenomenal. And the most amazing thing is, yes, in countries like South Africa, you've got wonderful lodges that are relais and chateau properties, so you know the dining's going to be good. But it's taking people and doing something different. One day we might be dining with Margot Janse at Le Quartier Français in Franschhoek, and the next day you're sitting on the shores of Langebaan with your feet in the sand, eating fresh food straight off the beach.
You're such a name dropper, aren't you?
Yeah. She's the only. The tasting room is very famous and that's that's one side of the spectrum. The other side of the spectrum is the amazing jobs that are done in the middle of nowhere in the bush. Yeah. I've just been to Botswana on a mobile safari, and you're out in the middle of the nowhere, and for these guys to cook what they cook and the meals they provide to very discerning travelers, with cooking just with a Bible on their left hand, a headlamp on their heads, to cook by torchlight and over open flame in complete darkness, is absolutely amazing. And that chef in the middle of nowhere, cooking these amazing meals. And a few years ago, he was nothing but a cattle herder in a remote Botswana cattle post.
That's incredible, isn't it? Well, tell me now, if people want to, I mean, obviously, what we want to do is encourage the trade in Australia here, and particularly the top-end trade, to attend Luxperience and actually discover and experience products like yours, which sounds absolutely awesome. I'd love to try one of your programs. But that's the purpose of this, in a sense, okay? But in the interim, where can people find out more information about Encompass Africa?
Firstly, we've got one of the most comprehensive and informative websites in the world. There's over 1,000 pages on our website about Africa, the places, the experience. We've got a whole experience section on there for different type of people. We've got virtual itineraries. You can fly over all the places you want to go to. So it's a wonderful resource to start with.
And and what's the URL for that?
www.encompassafrica.com.au.
Yep.
So that's a great resource. But we love chatting to people. I think speaking to people personally. Yeah. It's about that personal contact. For us, yes, the website gives you information, and you can read it at your own will. But to pick up the phone and to chat with us personally, we know all about Africa. The ins and outs. We know very little about yourself. So. The moment you make contact, we ask the questions. We like to get to know our people. It's all our clients and our guests are mostly friends and referrals, and it's that personal service that we love. I can sit for hours chatting about different parts, and I can tell you what wine is served in this camp and why that camp's no good and why So it's. Personal contact is the best, and obviously the website is a great
what phone number people can call you on?
We've got a 1300 number, which is 1300 988 378.
Fantastic. Well, Jonathan, look, thank you for your time this morning. That's been absolutely awesome. As I say, you've really put over the magic of the Encompass Africa product and the experiences you offer. I look forward to seeing you in Luxperience, and I look forward to seeing you snowed under with top-end travel agents and tour operators and everybody else that want to have a really serious, true, experiential and luxury and broad African experience. So thank you for your time this morning.
Brilliant, John, and I look forward to seeing you in Africa one day.
Fantastic. Thank you. Bye now.
Bye-bye.